Good morning to all of you, and welcome to yet another live episode with Neetus. This is Anne with you, and being a Thursday today, we are going forward with your writing precision live. Okay, in the last sessions, we had discussed about the writing task 1 for general and academic. We had discussed means we had taken an overview of what is a task 1 when it comes to IELTS writing for general and for academic candidates, because task 1 is different for the general and academic. Task 2 is a common for both the candidates, but task 1 differs. Task 1 for general is a letter writing, and when it comes to the academic, it's a report writing. So last session we had taken overview again of the task 1 for academic. We had discussed what it is about. It's a report writing, or it's also called as a summary writing. And then we had promised that we will start this week, this session, with the number which each session we are going to deal with each report, each kind of report, right? The diagram. So as discussed and as promised, we are starting today with the bar graph. Now on your screen you can see the details about what is a bar graph, and then what we are going to discuss in this coming 30 to 40 minutes, right? So now when it comes to a bar graph, which is also called as a bar diagram, which is very common, we all know, we have learnt in school how a bar diagram looks like. Maybe we have not written an essay about it, we have maybe answered some questions, but we know how it looks like. So it is, first of all, it is a very common question when it comes to IELTS writing task 1. We cannot ignore it by saying that it's a rare question. Now there is a bar graph, line graph, table, pie chart, combination chart, process or map. Either of them we can say it's a common question, we cannot ignore them. So it is a common question. Time taken is 20 minutes for your task 1. You will get 20 minutes for your task 1. The total writing task is for 60 minutes, wherein 20 minutes goes for your task 1 and 40 minutes goes for your task 2. So in this 20 minutes, make sure that you manage your time properly. You have to allocate some time in the beginning to analyze your question. Have a look at the diagram, right? Look at all the labels, x-axis, y-axis and so on when it comes to a bar graph or line graph. So and towards the end, before submitting the report, you make sure that you proofread your report. Okay, that means you recheck your report. That is very essential. Maybe at least 2 minutes to read the report once again in a quick manner. Look for any spelling mistakes, typing errors, punctuation errors, or any minor things which can be a problem for your band. Okay. The word count for task 1 is 150 words minimum. You have to write your report in minimum 150 words, which is mandatory. And above that, if your word count is going, then it is, what is suggested is, it is not mandatory again. For your suggested is above 150, you can keep it between 150 and 180. Now 180 is not mandatory, it is only suggested. 150 is mandatory. We say that keep it between 150 and 180 because you have got only 20 minutes, you have got a time constraint, and you cannot overgeneralize your report by writing everything. It becomes very mechanical form. So that is something you have to take care. What is assessed? You are assessed for your compact, or you can say concise way of writing, right? And that too in a very objective way. Objective, or you can say formal. Okay? Report is a very formal way of writing, right? To an extent, essay is also a formal way of writing, but there's a formal report. So there's a specific language for that. Nothing is our opinion. It's a completely objective way of writing. You have been given a diagram. You have to just look at that diagram, and whatever you are able to understand from the diagram, the main features, you have to convert that into 150 words in a very formal language. Any person who reads your report should be able to make a rough bar graph out of the diagram. If that is done, you are succeeded. So that is what you are assessed for. And there are 4 assessment criteria which we had discussed in last session. We have got task achievement, right? We have got coherence and cohesion, we have got lexical resources, and we have got grammar range, right? These are the things on which you have been marked. Every rubric has got equal weightage. You'll get a band for that, which is added up, divided by 4, which gives you the task 1 band. So you're assessed on this basis for these things. Okay, now comes to type of bar charts. When it comes to type of bar charts, we have got a single year chart, which is generally called as a static one. We have got multiple year charts. which is called a dynamic chart. Now when it comes to single year chart, like for example this one, it shows the information about the year 1999. Information about a comparison between two genders, male and female. What is the percentage of female or male they take the specific courses which are mentioned here? 5 courses. Okay, how many percentage of females take a skilled vocational diploma or maybe a undergraduate diploma and so on, right? For post school qualification Australia, only for the year 1999. It is a single year. That means there is no time referred. There is no corresponding years after that. It has got a fixed time. So what you have to look is that the highest numbers, you can see the highest number of females or the lowest number of females, the highest and the lowest numbers, or maybe the similar numbers, okay, which will help you to get the details when you write your report. So this is what a single year chart looks like. Single year bar graph looks like. Okay, coming to multiple years. Now for example, this one, it has got details for the year 1995, 2000, 2001 and 2002. Okay, for this 5 years the details are given what? There are 4 bars of different colors. It shows writing, reading, speaking and listening. And then the x-axis, this is the y-axis and this is the x-axis. Every bar will have an x-axis and a y-axis, right? X-axis is normally the time period, right? And y-axis is generally the measuring units. Okay, it can be percentage, it can be any number in terms of number of people, maybe rupees, okay, or maybe any points or number of vehicles or number of people, consumers and so on. It can be anything. So here you can see the information is for 95, 2000, 2000 and 2002. There's a variation in the bars. You can see 95, for example, if you take reading, which is grey. In 95, the reading percentage, the percentage of people maybe who opted reading was 90 and above. The same in 2002 has come down to almost less than 30%. So there's a change. The specific changes are happening with the passage of time. That is what shows data over time and specific changes which happen with the course of the time. That is what a dynamic bar chart is all about. So single year and simple language, single year and multiple years. 2 bar charts, either it can be vertical or it can be horizontal, like vertical and horizontal. Either ways the bar chart can come to you with x-axis and y-axis, right? This is how a bar chart looks like. Now going forward, the very basic, very important thing is a structure. Whenever you write a report, we always tell follow a structure. You cannot just write anything anywhere, right? This is a formal way of writing, so it's good to follow a structure. Now here you can see the very basic structure for every report is a 4-para structure. We always advise to follow that structure. It is easy for you and easy for the moderator also. And these 4 paras are, first is your introduction paragraph, then comes your overview paragraph, and then comes your body paragraph 1 and body paragraph 2. Okay, that is what a report looks like, the format. Now coming to what an introduction consists of, what overview consists of, a BP1 and a BP2 consists of, we'll look into. Now when it comes to introduction, that is the most easiest paragraph out of all the 4 paragraphs, because here you are paraphrasing, right? Now which is also you must have heard in essays. Essays is also about paraphrasing. But in essay you have got to use maybe more synonyms as compared to a report. Report questions are generally in single sentences most of the time. If you look at this question, it shows about, the bar graph shows about the post-school qualifications in Australia for the year 1999 in terms of females and males. This much is the only information which will come in your statement, right? So paraphrasing that, maybe you can rephrase females and males into men and women, right? Maybe post-school qualifications, that is the after-school qualifications, right? So that is something which you can paraphrase. So in like essays in report, you cannot replace every word with a synonym. But yes, definitely mostly Mostly you can show the information which is given, the source of info, the information source, that can be a couple of words in that can be rephrased with a synonym. That's why it is the most easiest form. It can be one sentence or two sentences, depends upon the description statement. Now questions in bar graph or any other graph is divided into three parts, which we had already discussed last time. The first part is your description about the diagram, right? Second part is the instruction for the candidate. Third part is the diagram itself. So every question is divided into three parts. Description, the first sentence is a description of what the diagram is telling you or showing you. Second is the instruction for you, what you have to do, right? And third is the diagram itself. So this is how the question is divided into three parts. So description, this is the description part is there, no? This is what you have to paraphrase along with some information. If you can take from the diagram, that also you have to add with all the references to the labels, to the x-axis and to the y-axis. All these references should be a part of your introduction, right? Introduction should have the type of chart, should have the source of information, should have the time period. These things are quite mandatory when you write an introduction for a report. Okay, so that's why it can be a single sentence or it can be two sentences, right? It never goes beyond that, right? That is the important paragraph, right? Coming to the overview paragraph, which is the most important paragraph of the report, you can say, because this is kind of a summary. A report doesn't have a conclusion. There is no conclusion paragraph for report, right? The reason being, it is a very objective. Okay, so report doesn't have a conclusion. The main reason being, when we are writing an overview, we are giving actually the most important features which are able to track in that report, in that diagram, right? And then we are describing the same thing with specifics in a body paragraph 1 and body paragraph 2. So if you write a conclusion, it is repetition of information. Secondly, there's nothing of our own opinion. There's nothing which we have to write in conclusion. Like in essay, you write an introduction, you write a body para 1, body para 2, and then the whole thing is summarized and put into a conclusion, which is not required for a report. That is a simple reason why reports doesn't have a conclusion. So this is overview is a very important paragraph. It is mandatory also. If you don't write an overview paragraph, that means your task achievement band will never go beyond 5. That is something which you have to take care of, right? Now, what is an overview? Overview is when you get a diagram in front of you, something, one or two things, major one or two things, which is a very striking feature in the diagram. That is something which you have to write in your overview. Okay, നിങ്ങൾക്കൊരു ഡയഗ്രാം മുമ്പിൽ കിട്ടിക്കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നിങ്ങളുടെ ഐക്ക് ക്യാച്ച് ആവുന്ന ഒന്ന് രണ്ട് കാര്യങ്ങൾ, സംതിങ് വിച്ച് ഇസ് വെരി സ്പെസിഫിക്, സംതിങ് വിച്ച് ഇസ് വെരി പെർട്ടിക്കുലർ, റൈറ്റ്? ദാറ്റ് ഹാസ് ടു ബി റിട്ടൺ ഡൗൺ ഇൻ യുവർ ഓവർവ്യൂ പാരഗ്രാഫ്. മാക്സിമം 1 to 2. Okay, sometimes some paragraphs may give 1 to 2 most important, maybe third overview also, which is maybe to an extent relevant. That's why we can write maximum 3 overview points in your overview paragraph. Okay, so what you have to do? Collect all the key features, right? Mainly the high points and the low points. Something which is maximum, something which is minimum, something which is decreasing, or maybe something which is increasing. Okay, write for something which is stable, or maybe you can say static, which is unchanged. Some informations remain the same for a corresponding, maybe with the passage of time, the information doesn't change. So that is something which will be a striking feature you can mention in your overview. Some information which are the same. For example, in this graph, if you see, there are two labels, female and male. So if any information is the same for these two labels, maybe that can be a part of your key feature. Okay. So that is an overview paragraph. Next comes your body para 1 and body para 2. Now, writing a body para 1 and body para 2 is not that difficult for an report, because you already got your key features in your overview. You have got some observations which have been marked down. Definitely when you analyze the diagram, that you have to convert and write it into in your own language in your body para 1 and body para 2. How you place the information is entirely up to you, but make sure that you give the most important information in the beginning. You make sure that the overview points are mentioned in your body para with specifics. In overview, you don't write any numbers, no number information, like no specific information will be given in your overview. That all supporting information will come in your body paragraphs. So when you write in this section, candidate should dedicate a paragraph to each key feature. Right? The candidate should ideally use specific figures, percentages and data points from the graph to support their observations. Okay, you should have the figures like percentages, numbers or data points that should be mentioned in your body paragraph 1. So never make any claims in your report without having a backing up data. You should always have the data, and for that you look at the labels, x-axis, y-axis, different kinds of trends or patterns which are visible in the diagram. Okay. So this is how a bar graph structure has to go forward. Okay, this is the basics about bar graph which you have to take care when you write a report. Now, we'll look at a sample question. You can see here the bar chart below shows the expenditure of 2 countries, right, on consumer goods in 2010. So this is only a single year bar graph. The information is only for 2010. It shows the expenditure, the expenses or the money spent in 2 countries on consumer goods. The 2 countries namely have been given in your labels here, France and UK. Okay, which is not mentioned in your question statement, right? So that is what the question says. The instruction part is summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Write at least 150 words. Okay, this is what the question is, and this is what the diagram looks like. Okay, the x-axis has got the consumer goods. They're telling here some consumer goods. There are 5 consumer goods: cars, computers, books, perfumes and cameras. The comparison is between these goods for the year 2010 between 2 countries, France and UK, which is x-axis had got, since the time period is only 2010, the x-axis won't have the time period, it will have the consumer goods or the data. Your y-axis has got the numbers, the amount in, it is because expenses, so it is money, it is monetary, so that's why it is given in pound sterling in numbers, 50,000, 1 lakh, 1 lakh 50 and so on till 5 lakh pounds, right? That is the y-axis. This is what the diagram tells you, right? So it has got the France in blue bar and UK in a orange colored bar. Okay. Now going forward, let's look at the introduction first. Now the question statement which we have to paraphrase is this much, from this part till this part. Type of chart is the bar chart. Shows can be replaced with illustrates, displays, represents or presents. So now here says the chart, the bar chart, actually the bar chart illustrates the amount of money. So this is the amount of money because it's an expenditure. The definition of expenditure will be what? The money you spent on something, right? So amount of money spent. Okay, on what? On 5 consumer goods. Now here they have not given the goods name that is visible in your diagram, which is given here, right? So that reference can be taken from your diagram. So you will write on 5 consumer goods: cars, computers, books, perfumes and cameras. You can use a bracket because it is academic, because it's a formal and academic way of writing. So you can use a bracket when you write an introduction. Okay, now so the bar chart is illustrating the amount which is spent on 5 consumer goods, namely car, computers, books, perfume and camera. Where the label says in France and UK. In the UK, time period is 2010. Okay, units are measured in pound sterling. So maybe this thing can be mentioned here also, amount of money spent in pound sterlings. That is also a way of writing. If you're not writing it here, you can write the chart, bar chart illustrates. Now here the bar chart will come, right? The bar chart illustrates the amount of money spent in pound sterlings. That is also a way of writing on 5 consumer goods, cars, computers, books, perfume and cameras in France and UK in 2010. That is something which completes your introduction, which is a clean and clear introduction. So they have replaced shows with illustrates. They have replaced expenditure, paraphrased expenditure with a definition, that is amount of money spent. They have added the reference of 5 consumer goods with the names which are mentioned in your question diagram, and then they have given the time and the measuring and the reference of the y-axis. So y-axis is there, x-axis is there, type of chart is there and information source is there. So everything comes in your introduction. Okay, that is the introduction paragraph. Coming to your overview paragraph, it says overall. Generally most of the reports overview starts with an overall because it distinguishes your paragraph, telling that this is my overview paragraph. So overall, that means in summary, the expenditure. Now we are looking for 2 striking features, right? Now striking feature first they have taken is the expenditure of the UK was higher than that of France. That is what they have. You can see UK is orange one and France is blue one. When you look at all the bars, mostly except for perfume, the expenditure when it comes to UK is more than compared to France, except for that perfume commodity, right? So the expenditure of UK was higher than that of France, both the French and the British. So they have replaced France with the people, nationalities, French and the British. Higher, again you're using a comparative language. Both the French and British spend the most money on cars, while the UK, the least money was spent on perfumes. So the most, when it comes to both French and British, they spend most the money, the highest money was spent on cars. You can see blue is the highest compared to all the items. This is higher. When it comes to orange also, compared to all the items, this is the higher one. So that's why for both the nationalities, the maximum expenditure was on cars. Okay, so what is the least? For least, when it comes to orange, it is UK, that is perfume. And when it comes to blue, that is France, it is cameras. Okay, so that is the highest and the lowest number which will be part of your overview. French and the British spend the most money on cars, while in the UK, the least amount of money was spent on perfumes compared to cameras in France. So there is highest is the same for both the countries. Lowest is different for both the countries. So you are rating both of them. So this is a language of comparison. Okay, the question says make comparisons wherever relevant. Right? So you are fulfilling that feature. Furthermore, so that is giving you the first overview statement. That is the highest number and the lowest number. Okay. Expenditure is high, we already told, that is one overview point. Secondly, the expenditure, how it is high and how it is low. Furthermore, they are giving a third overview statement. The most significant difference in expenditure between the two countries was on cameras. The most significant difference. When you say the difference, cameras നോക്കി കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ബാക്കി എല്ലാ ഗ്രാഫിലും കുറേ ഡിഫറൻസ് ഇല്ല. Like it is this much, this is only this much, this is only this much, and this is very near. But when you look at cameras, the difference is quite high. Okay, cameras when it comes to UK, which is orange, it around 3,50,000, more than 3,50,000 pounds. Adhe baksham, when you look at France, it is hardly 1,50,000, right? Which is more than half. Difference is more than half. That's why the significant difference, the most prominent difference which you can view in the graph is between cameras when it comes to both the countries they have spent the money on. That completes the overview paragraph. Now these details, ഈ 3 overview points in your body paragraph will explain detail with specifics. എത്ര കൂടുതൽ, എത്ര കുറവ്, എത്ര high, എത്ര low. That is what your body paragraph will be all about. Okay, so now coming to the first body paragraph in terms of cars, because we told cars are on which UK people and French people are spending the most, right? So in terms of cars, people in the UK spent how much on cars? You have to write that £450,000 on this, as opposed to the French on £4 lakh pounds, right? You can see car 4,50,000 for the British and 4 lakh for the French. So you wrote about the cars. That is the overview point. Opposed to is again a language where you are telling about comparison, right? Pinne, similarly, the British expenditure was higher on books. So now you already told that how it is French, here the British expenditure is higher on cars. Similarly, British is spending higher on cars. Similar to that, the British is also spending more on books as compared to French. The British expenditure, that's why the word similarly is there. The pattern is same. Expenditure pattern is, spending pattern is same. Adunana similarly. The British expenditure was higher on books than the French. That is 4 lakh and 3 lakh pounds respectively. Okay. In the UK, expenditure on cameras was over double that of France, which was only 1,50,000 pounds. Okay. So in the UK, again when you look, they are spending more on the cameras here. They are spending more on the books as compared to France. They are spending more on the cars as compared to France. Other two items, they are less. So these three items, cars, books and cameras, the UK people are spending more as compared to the French people. അതിൽ ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ ഡിഫറൻസ് ഉള്ളത് അപ്പം നിങ്ങൾ ഈ 3 ഓവർവ്യൂ പോയിന്റും അവിടെ ഫസ്റ്റ് പാരഗ്രാഫിൽ എക്സ്പ്ലെയിൻ ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞു, റൈറ്റ്? അതായത് വെൻ ഇറ്റ് കംസ് ടു ക്യാമറ ദ ഡിഫറൻസ് ഇസ് 1 lakh, more than 1,50,000, more than half, right? So that will complete your first paragraph. ഓവർവ്യൂവിൽ മാക്സിമം പോയിന്റ്സ് നിങ്ങൾ എക്സ്പ്ലെയിൻ ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞു. പിന്നെ വരുന്നത് സെക്കൻഡ് പാരഗ്രാഫാണ്. ഓൺ ദി അതർ ഹാൻഡ്, പിന്നെ ബാക്കിയുള്ള 2 കാര്യങ്ങളാണ്. ദ മോസ്റ്റ് ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻറ്റ് പോയിന്റ്സ് ഐ ഓൾറെഡി ടോൾഡ് ഇൻ പാരഗ്രാഫ് 1. പിന്നെ വരുന്ന 2 കാര്യങ്ങൾ എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ഇറ്റ് ഇസ് കമ്പ്യൂട്ടേഴ്സ് ആൻഡ് പെർഫ്യൂം. ഈ 2 commoditiesലും ഫ്രാൻസ് ഇസ് ലീഡിങ് ആസ് കമ്പയർഡ് ടു UK. ഫ്രാൻസ് ഇസ് സ്പെൻഡിങ് മോർ. French people are spending more on computers and perfumes as compared to the British people. Okay, our second paragraph with the information. On the other hand, right, the amount of money paid out on the remaining goods was higher in France. So that is again a comparative language. France, about 3,50,000 pounds was spent on French, by the French on computers, which was slightly more. Okay, when you look at computers, you can see that French are spending how much? Around, the UK people are spending around 3,50,000. When it comes to French, it is not reaching 4 lakh. കുറച്ച് വ്യത്യാസമേ ഉള്ളൂ. Not even 50,000 വ്യത്യാസം പോലും വരുന്നത്. That's why it's slightly more. Only slightly more. Okay, you can see slight differences there. So that's why they have used the language. It is slightly more than the British, who spent exactly 3,50,000 pounds. Okay, neither of the countries spent much on perfume, which accounted for 2 lakh pounds expenditure in France, but under pounds 1,50,000 in the UK. When it comes to the commodity perfume, അതിലാണ് ഏറ്റവും കുറവ് അവർ സ്പെൻഡ് ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്നത്, both the people, French and British. The lowest expenditure on perfumes, wherein when it comes to UK people, they have spent around 1,50,000, and when it comes to France, it is 2 lakh, around 2 lakh, a difference of 50,000 pounds sterling. That is the difference, okay, which they have written in the last line. Okay, so when you look at the body paragraph, you can see that in your overview they gave UK was spending highest when it comes to 3 commodities that they have mentioned in your BP1 with specific detail numbers. When it comes to France, they are spending high on 2 commodities, wherein the one is the lowest for both the countries in the whole graph. That is the last sentence I would have. Okay, so look at the language of similarity, language of comparison, right, which is language wherein they are giving a term which is showing the difference. Was over double difference, language of difference. Okay, the language of starting a paragraph, which is starting it here. Again, this is a comparative. This is again a slightly more, adum difference aanu, the language of difference. Instead of telling the particular amount, they are telling it slightly more, then saying how much more. Okay, the difference under comparison. Okay, so this is the language which will give you a good band. Okay, so this is how a report, a bar chart report has to be written. This was just a sample to follow, so that you can follow this kind of writing when you write a report on bar graph. Okay, so that was what today we discussed, the bar chart report for task 1 academic writing with the basics and a sample. I hope that it is clear for you, and if you have got any doubt, definitely we are there to help you out, right? We will meet next session with another kind of diagram on which we have to write a report. Okay, till then keep on practicing, keep yourself safe and have a good day. Goodbye.